Hello everyone. Welcome back to Fire Emblem 8 romhack, the Scourge of Proxima. I'm your host Pandan, and we're gonna talk about some units. So let's jump right in here. I think this will be pretty quick. There aren't that many characters to talk about, so we're just gonna dive back into this chapter and look at the characters we have to get some preps. So we'll look at this group and then we'll switch over to the last group from the guide. Uliath. Overall, like, really solid. He has good magic. His speed was fine. Like, I feel like Rosetta definitely leaves a stronger impression, like, mage-wise, but I'm fine with, like, a lord being inferior in some way while unpromoted, and then, like, I'm sure his promotion, whatever you guys have planned, will be better and more unique than, like, a sage. Just a hunch. But, growth-wise, like, I like that he is, like, super strong, but, like, doesn't have great speed. I think that's, like, kind of a cool way to do a Lord character. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, Micaiah, where she can struggle with speed a little bit, but, like, can really hit like a truck, especially with Fanny. So, having this guy come in, Ulia, that's, like, very strength, magic-oriented unit. Not the best speed, but, like, you can proc it and get on a roll, and he'll, like, double in one round some stuff. But, like, for the most part, he's mostly just going to do big chips. I kind of like that. I think that's fun. Really frail, though. Like, you have to be careful with him. Probably one of the, you know, as Imperial says, you know, he doesn't have much bulk. And so I think that makes him a bit more interesting than, like, a Lord that can just, like, steamroll stuff. So I'm curious, like, how you'll continue to balance him throughout and, like, the kinds of options that he'll have relative to your other units as the game expands. He's a mage, though. Like, I feel like he'll be pretty useful throughout, especially if he continues to level up that nice magic score. Having high luck is nice. Having solid res is great. But overall, like, was fine. You know, impressive, but not overbearing. Like, I think a pretty good, but not, again, good, but not overwhelming. Sylvia, you only get her for 2 chapters. She heals. I do like that you made an old lady prominent. Like, I feel like that's pretty rare, so I think that's probably the best part about Sylvia. Otherwise, like, she heals and she, like, dies very easily, so that's fine. Rufus was strong, man. I mean, I think I got lucky here with him. I mean, he's got a coin flip strength growth, and I think he procced it, like, every single level up, if not close to it. Like, he was really strong. Like, his growths don't look super impressive, but again, he can get on a roll. Got a lot of strength out of him. He was, like, getting close to one-hitting most things. He was even able to double quite a lot as well. He's got pretty solid con. Fun unit. Like, pretty quickly, like, overtook Imperial's strength. But, like, Imperial's still better just with, like, his speed and defense and all that. So, I could see Rufus, like, being a character that you want to replace at some point with someone else, like, if he doesn't hit his growths. But if he does, like, he's a nice little unit. And even if he didn't, like, he would still be pretty useful here. So Karis, he'll go. I mean, he's a mount. He's got swords and lances. So no complaints really with this guy. I kind of wish we would see a little bit more of him writing-wise. He's, like, doesn't really get too many important lines or really into much insight into his character. But he is strong, man. Really strong. 14 strength at level 9 as a cav is nothing to be scoffed. Especially, like, give this guy Steel Lance. Hoo boy. We're cooking with gas now. So I liked him. Imperial, he breaks the game, dude. He's just too good. Like, the crit, the speed, the strength, the skill, like, the defense. This guy is absolute. Like, he takes tinks in his joint chapter. You could really just throw him at anything and he'll be fine. I don't even think you need to nerf him because his stats aren't that good. You just need to make the enemies tougher, man. Just the enemies need to be better. And his growths are good enough. Like, his growths, like, aren't really worse than Rufus. You know, like, he still will level up pretty decently. Like, he's not, like, look at, like, just compare side by side for a sec. Like, these totals are not that different. I mean, I'm not going to do the math right now, but, like, these totals are not that different. And Imperial is free, and he starts out way better. I mean, Rufus is essentially free because you have to use him, but Imperial is just way better from out of the gate, and is really useful throughout. So it's like, there's no reason to, like, be remotely inhibited with how you use Imperial, because he's going to level up well anyway. Like, when you're playing another Fire Emblem game with, like, I think, like, let's just talk about original Jagan, for example. it's like you want to be a little careful with how you use him. Like, yeah, he can steamroll, but he also doesn't grow like well at all. Like, he has growths in like the 10s and 20s of percents. So it's like to indicate to you, it's like, yeah, use this guy, but don't give him like the prime kills because he doesn't make good use out of them. Meanwhile, it's like Imperial reminds me a lot more of like Seth or Titania, where they're really good out of the gate and they grow well, so there's no reason to not like just go all out. And because Imperial has such a dominating start and great growth rates, it's like, dude, I just want to solo the game with him. I mean, maybe not to that extreme, but like I could. So I think you could probably nerf Imperial's growth rates to make him a little bit less appealing to feed kills to, and I think giving him something that'll like help without crit would be really useful. I mean, I like halberdiers with crit. I like monotype units with crit. I think that's a nice way to give them a little bit of extra oomph over like the multi-weapon classes, and they're fun. Who doesn't like to crit? But I think you should look into how you can make like a non-crit weapon. I'm not sure like if in Builder, if you go into the item editor and hit the thing for like the Hopline Guard, which is like negate crits. I wonder if that works on offense. I don't know. I feel like it's not an impossible fix. I know Souls of the Forest does this with its Lunatones where it doesn't crit at all. So I would ask around. I'm sure you could get an answer pretty easily on this subject, but he would benefit a lot from just like the training lance or like a chipping lance or bronze lance, something that'll just like allow him to double and like get stuff down real low for Rufus and Ulia to kill. Because I think that's like how people really want to use their Jagans. I think it can be kind of frustrating when you want to set up kills with him and he just takes all the experience and gets like not that much for it. I mean, again, he's still really good, so it's not the end of the world, but some players are like, oh, my growth units. So you just want to be careful with that. He's just very dominant. So there are some things you could do to make him less dominant or play his role as a Jagan a little bit better. But right now, it's just like he's a very centralizing unit. It's like you can just do whatever you want with him and really not suffer too much from it. Additionally, because there are so few player units, like, I mean, I've only had like 3 or 4 chapters with these dudes, and like, look at Ulia and Rufus. Like, they're both like level 8, level 9. Like, this is a lot of experience, I feel, for such a short, how short the chapters are. Like, these guys have leveled up quite a lot. In like 4 or 5 chapters, so I feel like they should probably be like 2 or 3 levels lower, but that's also because there's no one else for me to give experience to besides Imperial for most of them. So again, like I'll keep repeating myself, I feel like adding an extra unit, adding a couple extra units to the map on the enemy side, making them a little bit tougher, and you're going to have something I think a lot more interesting and probably easier to balance and scale, because like if any one of your units gets screwed, like it just makes such a big difference. And so hedging against that with some extra units would help, but also making it so that you have reason to spread your experience around a little bit more, I think could be helpful. But Imperial's really good. But also seriously, guys, like, I don't know. I feel like having him named Imperial, like even if it's meant to be like a self-insert of the person Imperial, I think you'd just be better off like giving him like a regular name. It just seems kind of like, but my immersion, bro. Like, I don't know. I feel like I lose a little bit of immersion when I see the self-inserts that are like kind of blatant like this. I think just give him a name. Just give him like an actual name that'll fit better in universe and not take me out of the story as much. Because again, like it makes it like Tito, like I'm very anti-self-insert. Just in general, like I'll make characters that are like me in some ways, or that I feel like reflect certain aspects of my personality, and that's kind of how I relate to them as a character. But to just like put yourself into a game that like you're kind of positioning as being a more serious project, I think it kind of cheapens that, because people associate self-inserts with like meme hacks and like PMEs and all that kind of stuff. So I would just be like mindful of like kind of tonally, what are you going for with this? And if you're saying like we want to make like a serious romhack project, then like you got to get rid of the self-inserts. If you're saying like we want to do like kind of a joke but not really, I mean, I don't personally care for that as much. I'm not as crazy about like joke hacks in general. I find like joke hacks like really have to like strike the right chord with me to be good, or like have like really good gameplay. Like the Heroes We Deserve, like I think toes the line very well, because it just like it makes fun of the format so much and isn't really like even though it's just Chair and his friends, it's not really like, doesn't feel like super self-inserting or like very self-aggrandizing. It's kind of just like, look at these idiots and look at them running around and look at like, you know, Sigurd barbecue jokes and all this kind of stuff. Like, it just handles it very well, in my opinion. But that's really hard to do. This game, like, I don't think that you guys try to make much reference to the self-inserts and like, look how dope Imperial is, I'm the best. But it's just kind of like, all right, like, it's clearly the guy one of the guys who makes the hack. He's a Jagan with great growth. It's like, okay, we kind of get it. Like, he's good. He wants his character to be good. But I don't know. That kind of stuff takes me out of it a little bit. I could go on about this sort of thing, about just like being, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the right way to put this. I don't know. I don't love self-inserts. I think if you want this hack to, I guess in short, if you want to be seen as a serious hack, you have to remove this kind of stuff. Or change it so that it's way more subtle. Just my take on it. But again, like, if you're saying, like, we don't want this to be a serious project, then peace. Like, you're not a serious project. Like, you want it to be, like, more humorous and stuff like that. But based on, like, where the story is and how you're positioning that, it doesn't seem like you really want to go down that route either. I'm looking at this as, like, you want to be a serious hack with some jokes, but I think the jokes need to be a little bit less obvious, or like the references to yourselves need to be a little bit less obvious. And that's more fun, I think, for the player to try and figure out, like, oh, this was Imperial's character, or like, this is what Imperial's, like, this is what he did, or like, oh, this is what, you know, this is Chair's character, this is Z-Flare's character, like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, I kind of like needed to like read into a little bit more, and it's more subtle, and I think that kind of stuff is more fun, personally. But I'm also like, I crave subtlety in writing, so I might lean a little bit, I might skew a little too heavy on that. So again, like, this is a personal preference, but I'm really big on tone in Fire Emblem hacks, and I think that self-inserts can kind of like ruin serious tone. I don't want to say ruin, that's kind of extreme, but like, it can definitely like cheapen the seriousness of your hack and give people the wrong impression that it isn't serious, and that might prevent them from taking a chance on it if they're like, oh, look at Scourge of Proxima. It's like, oh wait, there are self-inserts, and oh, it's like, you know, kind of doing this sort of like thing with like allusions to things outside of universe. Like, I don't know how serious this project is. If it's just a joke, then maybe I will skip it. And I feel like you don't want to give that impression. That's my take on it, at least. But as a unit, Imperial's really good. You might want to nerf his growths a little bit so that he's a little bit more punishing to use long term. But I'm curious like how things will scale. If the enemy's density stays as is, and like you don't get that many more units, like Rufus is already stronger. Leo will probably surpass him like pretty soon, but he's still really useful. But again, just depends on how you want to balance it. I have my preferences, you guys might have yours, and I don't know the full design. It's only 6 chapters, but this is just my read. Garo, the walking strength and speed stat. I feel like his back-end stats are like really poor, and I mean, I got lucky. He procced skill twice, and I gave him a secret book, so like that's way better than it probably should be. I feel like a lot of GBA axe fighters suffer from this problem. I mean, he's all strength, all speed. He's got axes. He's got high hit HP. He could take some hits because of that. I feel like he's like a prime bench candidate, honestly, like when the time comes, because if he doesn't proc strength or speed regularly, like his growths are good, but not fantastic in those areas, and everything else is like worse than Imperial. So I could see him not having a lot of staying power long term. I love his art though. The stuff with him, like, haha, he's a drunk, like, I don't know, doesn't quite land with me personally, but I also, like, I feel like maybe just because I'm older, I have, like, a more, like, serious relationship. I don't want to say serious relationship with alcohol, but, like, I've seen what alcohol can do to people, and I've seen how pervasive it is in, like, the world of being an adult, and, like, kind of, like, I don't know, it just doesn't, I just don't love it, personally. I just don't think alcoholism should be glorified. Like, the description is, like, kind of humorous, and I could see why people would find it humorous. I'm just kind of, like, grown, like, promoting alcoholism. I mean, shit, like, in VQ, like, I know that, like, there are characters that, like, talk about, like, ale and stuff, but it's never, like, you know, these guys are alcoholics, and, like, haha, look at, let's make fun of them kind of thing, and, like, kind of glaze over. Like, it's kind of serious. I don't know. But, they're just, like, drinking to have a good time. Like, I feel like you could probably reposition Garo and make it... I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling here. I think something about it just didn't strike right with me. But this is, again, all very personal. I'm not saying it's offensive or anything like that. I would just be mindful. I know I'm very sensitive to alcohol-related stuff. I personally don't drink anymore, but I just feel like Garo's like entire characterization is like he's a drunk, and he's like, you know, he likes the barmaid and like wants to take care of her and stuff, and like wants to better himself. So like I can appreciate that aspect, but like I don't know, something about it just didn't sit right with me. Maybe I need to see more of Garo's arc to appreciate it, but again, it's such a small sample size. Really, the only takeaway is that it's great art. Kudos to Levin, but the alcohol thing doesn't really jive with me. The stat-wise, yeah, I think he's going to fall off pretty hard. But for now, he's useful. So that's it for this crew. Man, I can ramble on for a while. Let's go back. We're going to go back to the ladies. And let's see. I mean, these guys, it's like I had one chapter with them. They barely did anything. But we will at least take a look. Alright, so we got Lyra. I mean, she's your best combat unit. Like, she's got the most bulk. She's got good speed. She'll take care of anything Rosetta can't deal with. She opens the chests for you. Like, shows what she needs to do. I like the idea of, like, a stronger thief character. Always have. I think they're fun to use. It's a fun class. Very flexible in this type of context in terms of what you can do, just given how strong she is relative to your other units. So fun to play with. Curious like how she'll scale long term, but I'm glad that there's a thief in this hack. Rosetta was just really good. She's really good here. Her stats are deceptively very solid for this map. Like, the enemies are not very strong. Like, look at the average enemies. Like, she outclasses them all pretty hardcore. She doubles a lot. She won rounds. She's very good here. Probably a little too good. I don't think you necessarily need to nerf her stats, but you could probably just make the enemy stronger, and she would be a little bit harder to use and probably not as dominating. Because, like, I shouldn't be able to take, like, my level 6 girl mage, or boy mage even. Like, look at Ulya. Like, Ulya has, like, no bulk, and he dies very easily. Like, he has 20 HP at, like, level 8, and she's got 25 at base at level 6. Like, that just gives her so much more survivability when most of the enemies are doing between, like, 3 to 9 damage on her. She can just survive so much longer. I think you could probably nerf her HP a little bit to make her have a little bit more of a drawback, but right now she's very strong. She's pretty buff. Vale, her stats aren't that great. Like, look at Vale compared to Rosetta. Like, Rosetta's just, like, flat out, like, outclasses her in everything. And she's locked at 2 range, and she attacks defense. Like, Rosetta is just so much better. I mean, Vale is still useful here because you don't have really anyone else to attack because Lyra's probably doing thief stuff a lot of the time. But Rosetta shouldn't be this much better than Vale, in my opinion. Vale should have some sort of advantage over Rosetta. I don't know if, like, giving her, like, a longbow would be kind of cool. She takes a UJS loss from the steel bow. Rosetta doesn't really take AS loss from the Thunder Tome. No, she doesn't. She takes loss from an Elfire, but you really don't need the Elfire too much. And then there's Phoebe. Phoebe's a healer. Phoebe, yeah. So I think you could probably, like, find some way to, like, rebalance Rosetta relative to Vale in the context of this map. But yeah, that's really all I gotta say on these guys. I guess just, like, overall, my comments, I mean, I'll just kind of summarize what I've said about the maps already, is that, like, the maps look good. Aesthetically, they're on point. There's a lot of effort put into them. The events are excellent. Like, I'll reiterate that. The events are excellent for this early in development. Like, really, kudos to you guys for putting the effort into that. I don't have the patience for it, but good for you guys. I like that this chapter has multiple paths. This is probably, I would say, the best looking map, and probably rivals the Torch map in terms of, like, what I think is the most fun to play. But I think there's some AI stuff that I talked about in the last video that would make this better. I won't repeat myself. You have some cool gimmicks, I think, throughout as well, like the torches and the barricades. They are flawed, though, and I think you're going to need to, like, really put in some extra work to figure out how to make them less flawed mechanically. I think a lot of the issues with it, though, will be solved with, like, tougher or more numerous enemies, to be perfectly honest. Making the maps a little bit denser, making it harder to cut through, I think will make these gimmicks a little bit more powerful. I did take some time to watch some of Mangs' LP, like, after I'd played to see, like, if our comments were different. And I saw in his playthrough, like, the archer ran through one of the barricades in the fort chapter, which I thought was kind of silly. You could probably just do the same thing with, like, broken walls or something like that if you want, and set it up like a barricade that way. But it's a cool idea. It's a really cool idea nonetheless, but tricky to execute properly. But I give you guys a lot of credit for trying, and I'm sure that if you keep thinking through it, you'll be able to, like, really make it work. But there's some cool stuff going on in this hack, and I think there's a lot of creativity going into it. I think it just needs a little bit more polish and a little bit more playtesting, and I think you guys will be in good shape. So overall, guys, like, really solid job. This is a nice little 6-chapter demo. You have a big team on it, so I'm pretty confident you'll be able to get a lot more done if you stick with it. But stay motivated, and don't be afraid to, like, go back and fix stuff. Like, I would say if you don't take the feedback here, like, you're only doing a disservice to yourself, because I think you guys have a lot of visibility now. I feel like there's a lot of, like, interest in the community in this game, which is great. I think, like, if you focus a bit more on making the gameplay tighter and a bit more engaging, then I think you'll be in, like, a really good spot, because that's really, like, the only part to me. Like, the writing, sure, like, no one in the romhack community writes, like, amazing stuff, like, full stop. Like, no one's writing is amazing, so, like, I don't think people will care as much. But you guys have a huge opportunity, and if you focus on making this a little bit more tight on a gameplay wise, like, this could be a very compelling project very quickly. So I'm looking forward to seeing where you guys go with it. I think there's quite a lot you can do here. I apologize if at any point, like, I came off as overly harsh. I do really mean to, like, give my feedback in as constructive a way as possible, and, like, overall I think everything is, like, really quite good. But again, just needs a little bit more work, a little bit more polish, a little bit more tightening up, and I think that this can go from good to great. So looking forward to seeing where that goes. But anyway, guys, this has been a pretty quick unit overview and just kind of, like, my closing thoughts. The torch map was my favorite. I love Fog of War. Rufus was probably my favorite unit to use, just raising the Rufus on folks. So anyway, guys, that was just about it. Curious to see where this all goes, curious to see where you take this, and I'll see you guys next time for some more. I'm, like, way ahead on recording. Like, I'm recording this July 14th, and this probably won't come out till, like, July 30th. I'm super ahead on recordings right now because I was heads down with Souls of the Forest for so long, and then I just wanted to keep playing. So here I am with this. So this should be coming out pretty soon. I think I'm going to do The Lonely Mirror next by Caladrius, so expect to see more of that upcoming. But until then, guys, my name is Pondon. This is Scourge of Proxima. Looking forward to seeing more from this team, the Headband Gang, led by Z-Flare, Imperial, Reliable Chair, among many others. You guys have a big team on this, so I think you guys can get a lot done pretty quickly. So looking forward to see where it goes. And until then, guys, take care, and don't forget to like and subscribe and tell all your friends. I'll see you later.